All right, do we have everybody with us now? Are we ready to get started, or are we still waiting on anybody?
We're not waiting on anyone. We're both here.
All right, okay. So then let's get started. Okay, so today's class is what we generally refer to as like a beginner's class. Essentially, the last class that we did was data entry. We were learning how to set things up properly. Today we're going to be learning how to book appointments and some of the different pieces of the appointment book, booking, unbooking, rescheduling, doing standing appointments, setting things in seniority order, items like that. Then we're going to move over to the point of sale, and from the point of sale we're going to be talking about the different ways to process payments, as well as refunds and some of the little tricks that people are not familiar with regarding refunds, and also some of the other things that you can do in that point of sale. Then we're going to move on to the proper way to set up commissions. There's lots of different ways to do commissions in the software, so it's an important part of the class. And also, you know what, I skipped a part. In the point of sale, we're also going to be talking about the proper way to close a drawer. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I know we have another class tomorrow, and we may very well have additional classes in the future on lots of different things that we don't cover in these basic classes. But the good thing about these basic classes is that they're going to help you help your customers, you know, use the day-to-day software. Essentially, you know, all the basics, get it set up, book appointments, process sales, pay commissions, run reports, things like that. Okay, so we're going to start with the appointment book. Actually, you know what, let me, because I'm using a different one, I don't even know if I closed this one. No, I didn't, so let me do that. Then we'll go over that again a little bit later. Before we get started, the first thing we need to make sure, especially because this class is going to be covering the point of sale, is that our local taxes are put in. When the salon or spa is selling product or services, they may be charging based on where they're located for tax on services and or product. Now, in the United States anyway, almost every state has retail tax. And well, they all actually have retail tax, but very few of them have service taxes, but some of them do. So the way we set that up is we go to Setup, Configuration, Sales Register, and then we go to our sales tax rates. So once again, Setup, Configuration, Sales Register, Sales tax rates. And this is where we're going to be able to put in our local retail tax rate and service rate if applicable. And then we have an additional retail tax rate. Now, the additional retail tax rate works a little bit differently than the traditional retail tax. With the retail tax, of course, when you sell a product like a shampoo or a skin cream or something like that, you're going to charge retail tax. There are certain states, for instance, New York being one of them, certain areas and certain cities in those states that have things like textile retail taxes. When you hit a particular number, when you've sold a particular amount, suddenly the tax rate is increased, and so that's your additional tax rate. Very few areas in the country have it, but it's there if you need it. So we'll set those, and now let's get to our appointment book.
Okay, actually, hold on just a second, Matthew.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Quick question for you. What about the VAT? You know, where I have the tax rate, but it's a VAT tax instead.
Right. Sure. Okay. So I'm not the most familiar with that. I do know that depending on your where is it? Let's go to my sales register here. We have POS types. And so we've got POS types for different countries, et cetera. And some of them are very similar, which is why we have a limited number of countries here. Obviously, there's, 190-something countries in the world, and we've just got these few here. But these cover most. For instance, the Canadian POS is duplicated in a lot of different areas. The UK POS is duplicated in a lot of different areas, things like that. Even the United States POS is duplicated in a lot of different countries. When you have chosen your country's point of sale, you're also able to then set up your currency. You can put in different symbols, etc. Now, I am not exactly sure which ones do it. Again, this is probably something that you'd want to contact our support department. Okay. But there is a way to activate, based on what country you're in, the VAT. And that would then be, for instance, in your point of sale, I've got our sales tax, I've got additional tax, and there may be, instead of the additional tax, you may see a VAT.
Okay.
And so that's something that you're going to probably talk to our support department about. Unfortunately, sorry about that. If I had known that you were going to ask that, I would have asked them previously so that.
Oh yeah, no, and that's fine, Matthew. Part of the reason I was doing that is because you're recording the session.
Sure,
and,
sure.
From what Joseph was, I want to say it was Joseph was telling me, is that what I do is I put it in UK mode.
Okay, all right. Well then,
And so in UK mode, in UK mode it then behaves as the VAT.
Yeah, and of course in the Canadian mode, you're able to set up your PST and GST as well.
And that's what I found out the hard way.
Okay, all right. So sorry about that, but let's open up the appointment book now, unless we have any other questions.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I want you to be aware of this. Now, we're not really going to talk about, we're not going to get really into heavy detail with the month view, but I do want you to be aware that there are 3 different appointment books in the software. There's the day view screen, and if you left click on the book button, that will take you to your day view screen. And that'll show you your staff that are working for that day, as well as any rooms or equipment. And you can see up to 31 on a single screen based on your settings. And when I say your settings, if I go to, for instance, if I go to my book, you'll notice it defaults to 10 right now. And I can hit this button to make it 15, etc. If I go to Setup, Configuration, Appointments, Set Default Screen Parameters, my default number of columns is 10. And that's why it was 10 when I first went there. And you can change that. So you could say my default number of columns is 30. You know, you could do something like that as well. Or 7, you know, if you want it to be larger. So it's entirely up to you what you put in there. This is where you set it, though. So once again, that's Setup, Configuration, Appointments, Set Default Screen Parameters. Again, mine is set for 10. So I'm going to go to Book, and I see 10.
Okay,
if I had put in,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Matthew, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but
That's
also
fine.
that would be where I would change the time increments too, right?
That's exactly right, yes. It defaults to 15-minute increments, but if I were to go to Setup, Configuration, Appointments, Set Default Screen Parameters, my default is at 15. I could change it to 5, 10, 20, 30, or 60. Okay?
All right, thank you.
And you can, yeah, and it also defaults to all groups as the initial group that you start in. But, you know, there are, we've had customers that say, you know what, 95% of what we do is in our spa group or in our massage group. And then we've got, you know, a handful of other services in other groups. So you could change your default group to something else. And so that way, when you first go to book, that's the group that you're in. And then, of course, you can change. But the default is to all groups. So I just want you to be aware that that's an option for you as well. Okay, so again, my day view screen shows you the appointments for the current day that you're on, and you can move day to day using these arrows, left and right arrows. If I click on right, now it's Friday, June 16th. Click again, now it's Saturday, June 17th. Click again, Sunday, June 18th, etc. And I can use the back arrow to go back, June 17th, June 16th, June 15th. I can also click on my calendar to jump to any day I want in the month, or change my month and then jump to a day, or even change my year and jump to a day. So different ways to get to different days. That's the day view screen. We also have something called the week view screen, and there's 2 different ways to get to that. From the main menu, if you right-click on book instead of left-click, remember if you left-click, it takes you to the day view. If you right-click, it'll take you to your week view. And this allows you to choose a specific staff member, and you will see their schedule for 2 weeks. The default is 2 weeks. Again, I can use my plus or minus so that I can add days. I can see up to 31 days on a single screen. When I'm looking at a screen, I can also use these arrows, this left arrow here and this right arrow here, to jump. So for instance, right now, I'm starting on today, June 15th, and I'm going all the way to July 15th, and I've got 31 days on my screen right now. If I click this right arrow, it will then take me to July 16th to August 15th. And again, click the arrow. now August 16th to September 15th, and then use the left arrow to go back. So now I'm back on today plus 31 days, or go back to my default. So again, this is the week view screen, allowing you to see by default 2 weeks for any particular employee, whoever they may be. 2 weeks worth of appointments, 2 weeks worth of schedule. Okay, that's the week view screen. Now we also have something called the month view screen, and you can get to the month view in a lot of different places. You can, from the day view screen, click on month view, and there's that window. Also, from the week view screen, you could click on month view, and there's that window again. Also, from the main menu, I could click on appointments and select month view. Even in sales, I can go to book appointments and select month view, just like you can your day or week view. And there it is again. The month view works a little bit differently than the day view and the week view. With the day view and the week view, you choose your service, you choose your your client, and you book your appointment. With the month view, it's a little different. In the month view, it starts on the day that you're currently on. So I've got my 15th is italicized, and every day that an appointment can be booked is going to be highlighted black. Every day you've already passed is not going to be highlighted, and every day that you can't book will be grayed out. Now, you might say, okay, so I get to see all of the days that I can book. That's basically every day of the month, big deal. Then you choose a staff member, like for instance, Ashley here. By choosing a staff member, based on their schedule, you may see additional days gray out. Ashley doesn't work Wednesdays or Thursdays. The spa is closed on Sundays, but she doesn't even work Wednesdays or Thursdays, so those are grayed out. So now I'm left just with the days that she can book for that month. Then I can choose a service, whatever that service may be, and additional days may gray out because she may not have that much time available. For instance, if on the 23rd and the 24th she was booked fairly solid, but she had a few openings, maybe they were 30-minute or 60-minute openings, so those days would still be black. But if I chose a service that was an hour and a half, and she only had 30 or 60-minute openings because of the other appointments she already had, then those days may have grayed out. Once again, leaving you with just the days that the appointment can be booked. And I can choose more than one service as well. Again, other days may have just grayed out because now she needs 2 hours. Then you're able to choose a specific date, and you will be shown the available times that she would be able to book a particular service on, or set of services on that particular day. So you're left with just those times. Then I can choose my customer, whoever they may be, choose my client type like you always do when booking an appointment, choose a time, and book it. The appointment has been booked. That is now on the appointment book. So if I went to that Saturday, the 24th, let's jump there. And let's take a look at her screen. Where's my Ashley? Did I book on, or was that July?
I thought it was July.
Sure. Oh, my bad. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's on the appointment book. Let's go. Let me see if I can find it, though. I just want to.
Oh, no, it was?
No,
I don't remember anymore. I think it was, now I'm starting to wonder.
All right, let's.
Oh, but no, it was the 24th, Matthew, but it was in the afternoon, right?
That's right, 2 o'clock.
the afternoon.
'24th, and oh, maybe it's further on. Maybe Ashley's at the end of it. She is. There she is. There's Ashley. That's why I couldn't find it. And there are the 2 appointments that I booked for her. So I've got her really far off the screen. That's all. That's the reason we weren't able to find her. Anyway, there she is. Both of the appointments booked successfully, so no problems there. So it worked just the way I wanted it to work. So now we're going to go through the basics. We're going to go through the traditional way to book an appointment, but I wanted you to see that that month view is available. Okay, so we're going to start with our day view screen. The traditional way to book an appointment is to click on the client button, and this will bring up your ability to search for a customer. Now, if I'm using a touch screen, I can press these buttons with my finger or my mouse, or if I'm using a keyboard and mouse, I can simply type in. So I could put in something like Johnson, B, and I get all of my B. Johnsons, and now I'm going to book for Beverly Johnson. So the first thing I've done is I've selected a customer that's in my database. If the customer is not in my database, I can right-click and I can add them so that then I can book an appointment for them. If the interface is installed, then there would be another option to pull somebody from the hotel's PMS to add them to the database. So now I've got Beverly Johnson, and I get to choose my group. So I can choose a group like massage, and then I can choose a service, like, for instance, a hot stone 60. So this service not only books a person, it also books a room and equipment, because this requires hot stones. So I'm going to book this with Maureen at 11 o'clock. So I left-click to block out the time. Then I right-click on the time anywhere within that blue box to choose what type of customer they are. So for instance, a no type means I don't care who I see, which in a resort and hotel environment is usually the way it goes. If they've been there before or if they're a local, they may have a request. They may say, I want Maureen. In this case, I'm going to say a no type. It asks me, what room am I booking this in? So I can choose one of the available rooms. And now it says, what equipment am I using? And I can choose from my black or red stones. I'm going to choose my black stones. So now I've got Beverly Johnson booked with Maureen in the Elixir room with the black stones. That's something we call three-tiered booking, because you're not just booking Maureen, the staff member, you're also booking the room and the equipment. So now I'm going to do it again. I'm going to choose another customer. We'll go with Megan here. And I'm going to stay in massage, and this time I'm going to book a, let's go with the Swedish 60. And I'm going to book that with Michelle at 1 o'clock. So I left-click to block out the time, right-click to choose what type of customer they are. Again, it asks me, what room is this being performed in? I'll choose the herbal room. This is two-tiered booking. No equipment was necessary for the Swedish massage, whereas with the hot stone massage, the hot stones were required, so I booked them. In many locations, there are more rooms than there are pieces of equipment for that particular service, especially if they're like a med spa where you're doing laser hair removal or you're doing microdermabrasion or something like that. Now, a lot of resorts don't do things like that. They stick with the day spa type environment, but some are starting to do more and more med spas, especially as they start to get involved with things like Botox. But moving away from that, let's stick with the day spa environment. Even day spas are going to be using equipment like hot stones. A good hot stone package can be extremely expensive. And so you may have 5 rooms that you can book appointments in. You may have 10 therapists that can do the appointment, but you may only have 1 or 2 sets of stones. So that makes it imperative that you actually book the stones as well, so that you can't overbook a hot stone massage because you have available rooms and available staff. But if you don't have the available equipment, you're out of luck. So it's really important that you have that set up as well. And that's what we learned 2 days ago when we went through our setup of the services, how to assign rooms and equipment. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is single-tiered bookings. I've only got those set up in hair, and I know that a lot of resorts don't have salons, but some of them do. But even if it's not hair, you may have a spa service that is single-tiered. Mine are only set up for hair, so I'm going to do a hair service. So I'm going to go with Christy here. Oh, she's allergic to glycerin. Good to know. All right. So I'm going to go with Christy here, and I'm going to choose a hair service. And I'm going to choose my actual service now. I'm going to go with a blow dry and curl, and I'm going to book that with Abigail at 11 o'clock. Left-click to block out my time. Right-click to choose what type of customer she is, and the appointment is booked. It didn't ask for a room. It didn't ask for equipment. That's single-tiered booking. Does that all make sense?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay, so now that we have successfully booked appointments, we've successfully booked a single-tiered booking, a 2-tiered booking, a 3-tiered booking. Now I'm going to reschedule an appointment. So Christy calls and says that she can't make it at 11. can she see Abigail at 11:30, or can she come in at 11:30? If I have the available time, just by looking at the appointment book, I can see that I have the available time. I can check this box that says reschedule. That activates my drag and drop feature. So I can now grab an appointment by left-clicking and holding it and move it anywhere I want. So move it to 11:30. Move it to 2 o'clock. Move it to 10 o'clock. Really easy. I could even move it to somebody else as long as that person provides the service. I could move it over here to Kathy or move it back to Abigail. And especially if it's not a request, notice my purple bar on the side of Debbie's here. That means that this person asked for Debbie. Whereas this person does not have that purple bar, so it's a no type, meaning she doesn't care who she sees. So if she said, can I come in at 1, and Abigail is already booked at 1 o'clock with somebody else, maybe I just move her over to Kathy at 1. So that's another way to do it. Now, what if Christy calls and says she can't make it today, but she'd like to come in sometime this week? What other times are available? Well, the easiest way for me to do that would be to go to Abigail's name, right-click on Abigail, and select Go to Week View. Now I'm looking at Christy's appointment with Abigail, and I'm seeing Abigail's next 2 weeks. Once again, I can check my Reschedule button, and I can then move this to maybe Saturday or Friday, or move it to a different time, maybe 11 o'clock on Friday, maybe 1 o'clock on Saturday, maybe even move it to Thursday the 22nd, or bring it back to 11 o'clock today. And to get back to our current date, it's as easy as right-clicking on an appointment, on a particular day, and selecting Go Today. And that takes me directly back to that particular day. Okay? Any questions on that?
Yeah, do I have a way of knowing where it was?
Yeah, actually you do. We have something called appointment inquiry. For instance, what if Christy had called and said, I can't make it today, nor do I know when I'm going to be able to reschedule. So I'll call you when I have a time. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on this and I'm going to unbook it. Do you want to unbook this appointment? Yes, the appointment's gone. Well, what if that person, Christy, she walks through the door that day for her 11 o'clock appointment and you're trying to check her in, she's not on the screen. You're like, well, wait a minute, you don't have an 11 o'clock appointment today. Oh, yes, I do. I even received a confirmation. Okay, so we've got a problem. Maybe Christy Dahl, D-A-H-L, was unbooked when Christy Dahl, D-O-L-L, was the one who called in and said, I can't make it. And just out of coincidence, they both had a similar name. And so somebody accidentally unbooked the wrong appointment. It happens. So whether you reschedule or unbook an appointment, if it ever existed, and from wherever it was, that's going to be on your appointment inquiry. And so you can go to Appointments and go to Appointment Inquiry, and this is where you can look up either by a particular client or by a particular operator, like Abigail, and you can restrict it to particular dates as well. I could have even gone back in time or go into the future. So I could choose a particular date or date range, and I could say something like, okay, for Abigail, for all services, restrict by date, and then display. And every appointment that she has, now she has none. Now if I said, wait a minute, show me the unbook file and display, here we go. So now you might be wondering why there's so many of them. Well, there's so many of them because I was bumping this appointment from one place to another, and there they are, 11, 12, 12, et cetera, et cetera. And then I unbooked it. So this was rescheduled, 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 rescheduled. The asterisk means that it was unbooked. So all of these were rescheduled and then eventually unbooked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm assuming that they're from the first one upwards to the most recent one.
That's right. That's exactly right. And
Okay.
by the way, I can also click on what's called a detail. So you see, here, let me go ahead and click on that. I went to the right of this one and selected detail, and it will give me the information on it. And if you're using password protection, it would even give me who booked it, who confirmed it, if it was confirmed, and there's my who booked, and even who unbooked it. So
Okay.
right now I'm not using password protection, so I've got zeros. So it might have said who booked, and it would say Sally. Who unbooked? Jane. So now I can go to Jane and say, hey, Jane, why did you unbook this appointment? Well, she called yesterday.
Okay.
Or whatever
Good.
it may be. So that information is always there for you, no matter what. As long as the appointment was ever made, there's still a record of it.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we've talked about booking, and we've talked about rescheduling, and now we just unbooked. So unbooking is as simple as right-clicking and selecting unbook. Now, I want to show you guys something. There's something called unbook all this day, and this scares people. Oh boy, does those words terrify people. I hear it all the time. That I'm doing training with people, and people say, I've never used that, ever, because I'm too afraid to touch it. And the reason for that they're afraid to touch that is because it sounds like it's going to unbook every appointment you've got that day. Because that's exactly what the words say, unbook all this day. But what people are not understanding is that it's only for the client that you have right-clicked on. So I may have a whole bunch of appointments scheduled for this day, and I don't know how many I have, but I've got a few here. And if I right-click here and I say unbook all this day, it's certainly not going to unbook Beverly Johnson or Megan Galeta. It's only going to unbook Debbie. So unbook means I'm unbooking Debbie right now. But what if Debbie had more than one appointment today? Maybe she was getting a day of beauty. Maybe she was coming in for a massage and getting her nails done and getting a facial and getting her makeup done all in the same day, and maybe getting a bikini wax because the resort is on the beach. She's getting all of these things done in one day, and then she calls in and says, you know what, I'm not feeling well, I'm sick, I'm not going to be able to come in. Well, I could go to each one of her appointments, right-click on each one and select unbook. Or I could go to any of them and select unbook all this day, and they will all be removed. Now, other times you may have multiple appointments for the same customer, and they might say, you know what, I've decided to skip the bikini wax. I'm going to go with everything else, though. So then you wouldn't want to unbook all this day. You're going to go just to the bikini wax appointment and unbook just that one. So the difference between unbook and unbook all this day, unbook removes a particular appointment. Unbook all this day removes them all for a particular client. Does that make sense?
Yes. Perfect.
All right. So now we've got unbook and all this unbook all this day covered. And now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about manipulating appointments as far as, well, just that. We're going to change them. So Debbie calls in. And she says, you know, I've done this 3 times with you guys, and all 3 times it's ended up running an extra half hour longer than it normally does because my hair is, you know, super duper long, or whatever the reason may be. Or maybe I'm the person who's booking the appointment. It's not Debbie that called in to say that. I just know that whenever Debbie comes in, it takes a half hour longer than we think it's going to take. So I can right-click on the appointment, and I can change the appointment duration. If the appointment has a processing time, then I'm going to have all of this. If it's a single time, right-click, and I go to my change appointment duration, then it's going to look something like this. Changing the appointment duration literally allows you to simply add time to it or reduce time from it. That's all it does. It's really simple. So look at the Beverly Johnson appointment that I clicked on, and I'm going to change it from 1 hour to 1 hour and 30 minutes, and accept. Now it's 1 hour and 30 minutes. Real easy. All I did was right-click on it and adjust it. I can also do this. She doesn't want a hot stone 60. She wants something else, but we booked her for a hot stone 60. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to change the service name. So I can change it to something else, like, for instance, let's go with the Shiatsu 60. Now, when I choose my Shiatsu 60, I can adjust the time. So I can say I want it to fit to that time, because this may be longer or shorter than what I had set before. If I have that grayed out, it won't adjust the time, meaning it will stick the Shiatsu 60 into the same amount of time that this is already occupying. But if I have the adjust time, then in fact it will do just that. It will adjust the time. So we'll accept that, and now it's changed to Shiatsu 60. So I am able to adjust appointments simply by right-clicking on them. I can say how long they're going to take. I can also change actually what the actual service is that I had already booked for them. Now, what if Debbie were to call and say, you know what, I'm not feeling well. I can't come in today. I'm sorry. I woke up and I'm just can't leave the bathroom. Okay. Debbie's got a bunch of appointments booked for her, perhaps. We've only got one for her right now, but maybe she does. I can right-click and I can reschedule all of Debbie's appointments. So I'm right-clicking on Debbie's name, and I can select Reschedule All Appointments. And when I do that, what's going to, excuse me, what's going to happen is that, first of all, it's going to ask me if I'm sure I want to do that. If I say yes, then it's going to find the same available times with only operators that can provide that same service. And it will then put them with those people. And it's always going to be doing it in seniority order based on where Debbie falls in line. So if I select yes, the appointments get booked. They get automatically moved to somebody else. Really quick and easy. I know that Christian can do it, or it wouldn't have moved it over to Christian. Okay? So that's one way to do it. Now, if the system could not find anybody that could provide that service at the same time, it would have left it in Debbie's column. So after doing it, you simply check to see if Debbie's column is empty. If Debbie's column is in fact empty, it worked. If Debbie's column still has an appointment or two in it, those have to be manually moved. So maybe you could contact the customer and say, I'm so sorry, Debbie's not well today, so we needed to change you to somebody else. Unfortunately, they didn't have that time available, so we had to move you to this time. Is that okay? If they say yes, great, leave it, move it. If not, then maybe you can reschedule them for another day or something like that, or just unbook their appointment. But the point of the matter is it's going to find available times with people who can perform that service and stick them in based on seniority, based on their openings. And if the system cannot find openings with people who provide the same service, then it will leave them in Debbie's column to be manually changed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It
All
does.
right.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
I think you had said earlier that the bar on the right means that they specifically wanted that person.
That's
Is that
right.
Correct?
Yes.
So on this person that we rescheduled, she specifically wanted Debbie, correct?
That's right. Yes. I understand what you're saying. It's a great point. The bar is for your information purposes only. So if I saw that bar, so in other words, the bar is not going to prevent me from moving it to somebody else. However, if I see that bar, I know they want to be with Debbie. I would have to manually move that one then to another day that Debbie would be able to perform the service.
Okay. That's
where I might go
was
to my
thinking.
week view so that I could see just Debbie's schedule and move the appointment to another time with Debbie. Absolutely. But again, the reason I didn't really mention that here is because in most resort and hotel environments, they don't have specific requests.
Right. I understand.
Yeah. So, but again, the bar is an FYI. It's not going to prevent you from moving it. Okay. It's a good question though. I'm glad you raised it. Yeah. I mean, because people should know that. Okay. So moving on. Let's see here. Oh, the next thing we're going to talk about is standing appointments. Okay, so a standing appointment, of course, is almost never going to be with a resort guest. It is, however, going to be with your locals. That happens a lot. So you'll have somebody who comes in for their facial, and they're going to be coming in every other Tuesday or something like that. So what I can do then is go to standing appointments, and it brings up the standing appointment window. Again, I can find standing appointments just like month view in lots of different places. So in my day view, standing appointments, just like I showed you. In my week view, I can go to standing appointments. In my main menu, go to standing appointments. And in my point of sale, book appointments, standing appointments. So how does it work? So I'm going to go to standing appointments, and I'm going to choose a customer. By clicking on the little question mark there, that allows me to pull up a customer. So I'll choose somebody I've never used before. Let's go with Anna or Sana here, or Sano. And then I get to choose who it is she'd like to see. And I'm going to say it's going to be with Christian. And what is the service? I'm going to say it's a back facial. And my request type, I'll say no type. Now I'm going to choose my starting date. At what time? At what day do they want to get their first back facial? Maybe it's today, which is the default. I can use my plus sign to go one day at a time. Now I'm on Friday. Now I'm on Saturday. Now I'm on Sunday. I can use my minus sign to go back one day at a time. And I can use my calendar to jump to another day, another month, etc. So I'm going to stick with today, June 15th, 2017, Thursday. What time of day? It's going to start with the first time that Christian can do this. I could choose a different time. We'll go with 1 o'clock. Then my frequency. How often does this person want to come in? And I'm going to say they'd like to come in every other week. How many appointments am I going to book for them? I could book from 1 to 256. Now, we all know that there are 52 weeks in a year. So if it's every other week, and I said 256 weeks, that would be 10 years worth of appointments. So I don't want that necessarily. I may go with something like, I don't know, let's go with a dozen appointments. So it'll tell me my last appointment is going to be November 16th of 2017. Now that I've set it all up, I need to press this button, that one that says show. It's a really important button because when I hit show, I need to view the status. If they say okay, that means the appointment can be booked. If, however, there were X's there, that would mean, for whatever reason, the appointment cannot be booked. Maybe Christian is already booked out on that particular day at that time. Or maybe Christian is not going to be in work on that day because maybe they're taking their vacation. Or maybe that day, because I don't know what the days actually are, I just set them for, maybe that day was Thanksgiving, and so I marked it closed that day. So I don't know, because it is a Thursday after all. It could have fallen on Thanksgiving. Anyway, if I see X's, that means I've got a problem. Now, if there are X's, let's pretend that on July 13th, Christian is scheduled to be on vacation. He's taking the 10th to the 15th off. So this one would then have X's, which it doesn't, but it would. And so I can click on it, and I can change to an alternate operator. Now, Christian is listed here because he actually does work that day. But if he doesn't work that day because he was off, that's why the X's were there, Christian would not be an option to choose. I could choose somebody else. Or maybe Christian does work that day, but he's already booked at 1 o'clock. So I stick with Christian, and I choose a different time for that particular day. Only the times that he has available that day will appear. Maybe there's only a handful, and I choose an alternate time. So now I've got my OKs, and one of them is alternate. Then I can hit book. If I press this book button, all of these appointments will be instantly booked. I will book all 12 of them simultaneously. But before I do that, I want to turn you on to one more thing. There is this this button here that says auto standing. What does auto standing mean? It's really important to know what this is. If this customer has a series of 6 appointments, or 6 services, and you're going to book them out, okay, that's 6 appointments scheduled. Great. No need for auto standing. They've got 12 services, and they're going to book out for 12. Great. No need for auto standing. But what if this is the kind of person that really has been coming to you every other week for the last 5 years, and they have no intention of stopping, and they're going to be doing it for the next however long they're alive? Okay, that's auto standing, because auto standing does this. If I click on this and then I book it, it'll only book these 12 appointments, but every time that client uses one of these appointments, it will automatically put another one at the end of the list, so that you're always 12 appointments booked out for this person forever. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Now, you might say, well, then why not just do the whole 20-year thing or 10-year thing? You know, why not book 256 appointments out? Well, one of those reasons is, and I think most importantly, is that when you go to look at your customers' future appointments, you don't have to see 200 plus appointments or 100 plus appointments or 50 or more or whatever. You simply see 12. So you're able to tell them, you know, your next appointment is on this day, you've got another appointment on that day, et cetera, without having to sift through hundreds of appointments. So that's one way to do it. I'm not going to do that, and book. The appointments have been booked. So that was Christian starting today at 1 o'clock and every 2 weeks. So let's take a peek, shall we? Let's go to our appointment book. And there's Christian, and there's Anna Ursana for a back facial at 1 o'clock. It booked beautifully. Let's go forward 2 weeks. June 29th, there's Anna again with Christian at 1 o'clock. Let's go forward 4 weeks. There's Anna again. Notice this one is at 2 o'clock on July 13th, just like we wanted it. Let's go forward 6 weeks. And there it is again, 1 o'clock with Anna, with Christian. They booked beautifully. So instead of having to book one appointment at a time and then go forward 2 weeks, book another appointment, go forward 2 weeks, book another, you don't have to do that. That's standing appointments. Any question on that?
No.
All right.
Very clear.
Okay, good. So now I'm going to go back to calendar and I'm going to click on today to take me right back to my current date. And as far as what I'm teaching you in the appointment book today, we're done. There are other things, lots of things that we have not talked about that you can do in the appointment book. Setting up the display order that works with your appointments online as well. Having appointment reminders go out and confirmations. Having instant notifications to your staff members that you've made a change to their appointment book. All of those things can be done, but that's not what we're learning in the basics today. So now we're about to move to the point of sale. The easiest way to get to the point of sale is simply by right-clicking on an appointment and selecting Checkout. That'll open up my point of sale register with my ticket already filled up for me. Let me go ahead and clear that and exit out of it. And I am going to pull up Debbie again. And I'm going to choose another service for her. We'll go with the massage. We'll do a physical therapy massage with Anna, and we'll do that at 12:30. Done. Okay. Now I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to go to Checkout. And as you can see, they're both there now. So no matter how many appointments she has today, when you go to check one of them out, they're all going to come up. That's one way to do it. I'm going to clear that and exit out of my appointment book. Maybe I'm not in the appointment book. Maybe I'm just in the point of sale. By clicking on sales, it takes me to my point of sale. Everybody who has an appointment with me today is going to be listed here. And this could be a very long list. There could be hundreds on it. And because of that, you want to have a quick and easy way to find the person you want to check out. So, obviously, if I choose Debbie, it'll fill in the ticket for me. So what's that quick and easy way, especially if there were hundreds? Well, first things first. This is going to be done in either alphabetical or in order of checkout. You can see by the fact that Debbie Raffle is ahead of Beverly Johnson that mine is set in order of checkout. Whereas if it was alphabetical, then Anna would still be last, but the first person would be Megan, followed by Beverly, then Debbie, then Anna. So you could find their name easily, either alphabetically or in order of checkout. The reason I like order of checkout is because the people who are coming up to the front desk should be the first people who have gotten their services. So as they come to the front desk, they should be at or near the top. So it should be a really easy way to find them. So that's one way to get an appointment in, either by right-clicking in the appointment book on checkout or by using your drop-down so that you can fill in your ticket. What if they don't have an appointment? Easy. Go to Clients and pull up a customer, like Donna. Then I can go to Service and say she saw Debbie and got a Brazilian wax. And I can hit More, or I can hit Last. If I hit More, I can say she also saw Anna and got a French change. And now I can hit last. So I have created a ticket out of whole cloth for somebody who did not have an appointment with me. What if they're not in my database? I can still do it. I go to new, and now I can pull up somebody, Teresa, I'll pick on you again, Andre. And am I spelling your last name right, by the way?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good, good. And I can take additional information or a lot more information, or I could just hit add now, and then once again, do exactly what I did before. And now I created the ticket. Again, they didn't have an appointment, and this person wasn't in my database, so I selected new. Then I could also go with one time. One time means I don't care who this person is. I'm not going to be marketing to them in the future. I'm not checking to see whether or not they're not going to be charging to a room. I don't care who they are. That's a one time. That way you're able to still process the transaction, and the transaction information will still be applied to the people who provided the service, but you are not assigning it to a client. That's a one time. And clear. So different ways to pull a customer up. So now let's go through the process of creating a ticket and doing the sale. So I'm going to choose Debbie. Debbie Raffle here saw Christian, got an anti-curl. She also saw Anna and got a physical therapy massage. Okay. She also would like to buy a product. So I can, if I have a barcode scanner, scan that product. Right now I can just scan it and it will fill in the necessary information. First it will ask me who's getting the commission on it. Then it will fill in the information for me. However, if I'm not using a barcode scanner, I could type in a SKU number and go through the same process. If I do not know the SKU number and I don't have a barcode scanner, then I can press this button, Retail. And now I can look up a product by SKU or UPC or vendor or by manufacturer and category and find a list of products. Or probably the easiest way is just to hit search and type in a portion of the name. So I'm going to put in I, enter, and everything that has the word I in it will appear. If I put in champ, everything that has the word champ in it will appear. The more I put in, the shorter the list is going to be. So let's go back with my I, and I'm going to go with my Acme Eye Gel and accept. And I get to choose who gets the commission on it, Angie, and last. Debbie Raffle was sold by Angie the Acme Eye Gel for $35. Put in my local tax, which I had set up earlier, and perhaps I'm ready to go. Perhaps not. Debbie would like to give a gratuity. So I click on gratuity. And I can put a dollar amount in for Anna and accept that, and then go back to gratuity and put a dollar amount in for Christian and accept that, or I can apply a percentage. And if I apply a percentage, it'll do the math for me. So Christian's going to get $22.50 and Anna's going to get $13.50. Now perhaps I'm ready to go. So I go to payment. And now I can accept cash or check, put in the check number, credit card. If you're processing through Vantiv Mercury, it'll look something like this, where you're able to click on credit or maybe even a debit, and then it'll ask you to put the card into the chip reader or swipe the card. If you are not processing through them and you're processing outside of the software, it'll look like this. And you can choose what type of card they gave you so that you can still have an accurate reporting for your drawer and your sales without processing directly through the software. Gift certificate. You can only accept a gift card or gift certificate if you have sold the gift card or gift certificate through the software. So how is that done? Well, I go to gift card or gift certificate, and then I can fill in the necessary information, how much it's valued at, etc. And then I can sell this to them, and it can be used. I'm not going to do it right now. You can swipe a card and have that card's information assigned to that client for the dollar amount that they're paying for, or you can actually have certificate printed out. It's just black text. So you would have a pre-created fancy gift certificate where the black text would fill in to fields. So you would have that made at your local stationer, something like that. But a lot of resorts now are going the gift card way. It's a lot better. I think it works better for loyalty anyway because people keep the card in their wallet, so they've got your advertising always with them. So there's lots of different things that you can do here. But again, you cannot accept a gift card or gift certificate as a method of payment if you haven't sold it through the software. That's how the software is aware of it. Next, we have something called series. I will be honest with you. I have yet to run into the resort or hotel-based spa that uses series. But you should know what it is anyway, just in case you ever do, and you say, oh, yeah, that works with series. Okay, so what is a series? A series is the same service sold multiple times at once. So let's say, for instance, that they wanted to purchase a series. So I can sell a series as well. And I can sell 8 manicures, or I could sell 5 crystal scrubs, or I could sell 6 facials, or 5 hot stone 30s, or 10 European facials, whatever it is, or 5 or 6 of them. I'm going to go with 5 European facials. It's $350 to buy 5 of them, and I can put in an expiration date. I'm not going to actually do it, but I could have. If they owned a series, then series can become a method of payment. So when they do get a European facial, and I can then use series because they bought one as the method of payment, and it would be listed here, and it would say 5 of 5 remaining European facials, 4 of 5 remaining, 3 of 5 remaining, 2 of 5 remaining, until they use it all up. Then they can purchase them individually again, or they can buy a block of them again. So use them again. Normally, series are sold with discounts. So it's a $50 facial. If you buy 10 of them, it would be normally $500. So I'm going to sell you 10 of them for $425. So you're getting a $75 discount by buying 10 of them at one time. That's a series. Make sense?
Yeah. Question for you, Matthew.
Go ahead.
If I have a series and they're using part of the series, can I do that on the same ticket with other things, or do I need to separate those out as? Okay.
Yes, you can do that on the same ticket with other things. Absolutely. Just like you can accept multiple forms of payment, you could accept, $100 in cash and $14 in check, and then $224 in credit card. You could have done that as well. I don't know why you would do that, but you certainly could. You could do exactly the same thing with series. So let's say they got a European facial and a French manicure and a Brazilian wax. Well, you could use the series to wipe out the price of the European facial, and then they can pay for the other things in another method.
Okay.
All right. Then there's also this one that says on account. On account is, the best way to think of on account is this. Your customer has given you a deposit. They have given you money that they have not used yet, and therefore you owe them money. So, and that is often with a deposit. Usually you find that in things like wedding parties or local businesses that send, their accountants to you for to all get a massage that day because today is Accountant Appreciation Day. Whatever it is. The fact of the matter is that oftentimes with groups, somebody will put a deposit down, most commonly with a wedding party. So if they have a deposit on file, maybe it's a $500 deposit, you could then take this $314.24 on account, and it will reduce their $500 deposit by $314.24. And they will be left owing you, what does that come out to? $185.66. 76 cents, excuse me. Sometimes I don't do the math very well in my head. Anyway, that's on account. That's one way to think of it, most commonly used that way. There is another way to think of on account. Debbie is your best friend, or she is your sister, or whatever, the owner of the spa. And she walks in, gets her services, comes to the point of sale, opens up her wallet, and says, oh my God, I left my credit card at home. I was online shopping last night. Well, you know her well enough that you can say, okay, I'm going to put it on account. If she does not have a deposit with you, when you put it on account, she will owe you the money. And there is a report, an on-account aging report, showing you everybody that owes you money and for how long they've owed it. And every time you pull up Miss Raffle it will show you in red what she owes you. And at any time, she can pay it down. The same way that she puts money on deposit, she can pay off what she owes you from an on-account payment. That is commonly found in standalone salons and spas. It is almost never found in a resort or hotel, but I just wanted to mention it so you understand how that works. Okay. Now, the next case, of course, is actually the room charge. Now, actually, you know what? I don't have yours set up for that. I want to show you guys something. Let me do that really quick. I'm going to fake it. Set up, preferences, sales register, and where is my... Nope, not in here. Set up preferences.
It's under the general settings, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to fake this, and I'm going to go with my IQware. Just faking it. I'm going to turn that off in just a moment. Go back to sales. None of that's real. Go to payment and go to now, but because I've done that, now I've got this button. That's what I wanted to show you. I've got my room inquiry. When I click on room inquiry, I'm able to actually see who is occupying a room. And by doing that, and obviously none of this is going to work for me because none of this is actually set up, but by doing that, I put in the room number, I do an inquiry, and I can see information. Their room, account, last name, gift card, etc. That's how I'm looking it up. It gives me that information. By doing that, I can confirm that Debbie Raffle is occupying that room. Then I can actually charge it to her room. When I put in the room number and I accept it, because I'm charging to the room, I'm not accepting money in cash, check, or credit card, etc. This will then appear on the hotel's folio. Therefore, when they check out and they pay for their room because they're leaving now, anything that they have, you know, whether it be room service or things they bought at the gift shop or perhaps things they got at the spa, they will have to pay for at that time at checkout. Okay? Next is traveler's checks. Works the same way as personal checks. Put in a check number. Traveler's check, put in a check number. The only difference is when you close your drawer, they will be broken out separately. Excuse me. The next thing that I want to show you is Other. Other allows you to create your own methods of payment. So if your business has some other type of payment that is not reflected in what we've already covered, you can create it. And that's Other. So I have created one called Barter. And barter is trade, basically. The electrician's wife. So the electrician came in and did my wiring, and I told him, send your wife in, and whatever she gets, I'll give it to her for free. So I still want to keep track that Debbie came in. I still want to know what services she got and what the value was so that I can pay commission to my staff, etc. But I'm not actually taking any money in on it. That's barter. You could, of course, do something else. You could create your own, whatever they are. Then finally, we have rewards points. Think of rewards points as airline miles. Now, this is not resort-wide. This is not hotel-wide. This is just in the spa. But for whatever services they have purchased or whatever products they have purchased or referrals they may have given, they can earn points. They can then turn around and use those points to get discounts or freebies in the spa. They can't use those points anywhere else in the hotel or resort. This is all spa function. Okay? We are hoping with additional working between our two companies to be able to eventually go hotel and resort wide with things like that so that it's all able to communicate. If you're offering loyalty throughout the hotel or resort, that you could use it in the spa, or you could use spa hotel and you could use spa loyalty points throughout the resort as well, you know, at the dinner table or at the gift shop or whatever it may be. But right now, this is spa only. So you earn the points, there in the spa, you use the points there in the spa. Okay? All right. So another thing that you can do that does happen sometimes, especially if people are not going to be charging to the room. Debbie will come in and her husband will pay for her. Or maybe they will come in together. So let's talk about that, because this is commonly found in in hotel spas. I'm going to book a, let's go with two people who have the same name, if we can find them. Yeah, so I've got Francesca, that's probably Francesca, but I've got Francesca Gage here and I've got Kate Gage. I'm going to say that they're sisters, they're together. I'm going to book for Francesca here, and I'm going to do a massage. And I'm going to do a nice Swedish 60, and I'm going to book that with Michelle. Choose my room, herbal room, booked. Okay, she is getting a couples massage. She and her sister are coming in together. If I booked with Sarah or Anna or Abigail or Debbie, it would only give me the Ruby room as the option, because that's the only room available for that massage. The Jasmine room is a wet room, which is why it's not an option. But the Ruby room would be the only, well, that's not going to keep them in the same room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to book right on top of it. So I'm going to choose my customer, and I'm going to go with Kate here, and I'm going to book right on top of my herbal. And now, instead of asking me for the room, it's going to ask me for the operator, and I'll choose Sarah. So now I've got Francesca Gage with Michelle, Kate Gage with Sarah, both getting a Swedish 60, and they're both in the herbal room at the same time. Great, okay. Well, guess what? I can also then, in my point of sale, check them out together. Click, Francesca's ready to go, but I can also put Kate on the same ticket. So now I've got them both on the same ticket, and I go to payment. And whoever is last on the ticket is the one who's going to be charged. So I've got Kate and Francesca here, and I've got Kate that's going to be charged. But what if it's Francesca that's actually going to be doing the payment? I can simply hit change, and I can change it. So now I can pull her up instead and say she's the one paying. So if it was just one person on the line, I could have pulled up somebody else to maybe let her father pay or her wife pay or whatever it may be. His wife. Oh, it doesn't matter anymore, I guess. Anyway, so I accept. And now, whoops, well, I can't accept because I've got to do a payment. So I'm going to do a payment. And I'm going to take $100 in cash and accept. She still owes $98. And I'm going to take that in credit card and accept. And now I can accept the payment. Process it out, and it's done. If I go into their client information, I don't have to, but if I did, I would see when I look at Francesca's history that she saw Michelle and got a Swedish 60 on that day. Notice it doesn't say anything about Kate, but if I view the transaction, I can see that Kate and Francesca were both paid by Francesca on MasterCard and cash. Done. Also, if I went to Kate, whoops, go to my client. If I went to Kate and looked at her history, it shows that she saw Sarah and got a Swedish 60. Doesn't mention Francesca. And if I view the transaction, there it all is, paid for by Francesca. So it works very, very nicely. We're able to have other people pay for other people, whether they're on the same ticket or not. Okay? So those are other options that you can do. Okay, now, other things that we can do here in the point of sale. We can duplicate a receipt that has already been created. We can preprint. So I've got Debbie here. I can go to preprint. And this is going to create a receipt for me that will have a tip line and a signature line, kind of like at a restaurant, so that they can fill it out, give it back to you, and then you can fill in the gratuity line and process their payment. But they've already told you what they want the gratuity to be, just like at a restaurant, they fill it in. You can also now, if you're using our payment directly through the software, you can now add gratuities later as well, the way restaurants do. So that's preprint. Duplicating a receipt, you certainly don't need any of this up here, but duplicating a receipt allows you to put in a transaction number, or you can hit last transaction, and you can print out a receipt that's already been printed, or you can email a receipt that's already been printed, or you could email a receipt that's already been emailed if you wanted to send it to somebody else. So that's duplicate receipt. You can do things like that as well. We also have something called notes. So I'm going to choose Debbie here, and Christian says, hey, you know what, I really screwed up the anti-curl and her hair's really frizzy now. I told her I'd give her $50 off because it'll set in a day. So, okay, I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to modify that price, make it just $100 and accept. Well, Christian's going to come to me in a couple of weeks furious that he's getting commission for a $100 instead of $150. So I need an explanation why. So I'm going to go to my notes on this transaction and I'm going to say that Christian said 50 off because blah, 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 whatever the reason may be. And then I process that payment. Everything is good. And a couple of weeks later when he says, what the heck is going on? And I say, I have no idea what you're talking about because I do 100 transactions a day, and that was 2 weeks ago. I can go into the client's file. I can look at their history, and if there are any notes on it, they will be listed. Now I have a reason. Anytime that a transaction is performed and it is odd or out of the ordinary, adding a transaction note to it is a great idea to explain why it's odd or out of the ordinary, because that's really kind of a CY your bottom for the front desk, okay? All right. I know that this is being recorded, so I changed those words. Okay, so moving on. More things in the point of sale that we're not going to be going over with. We pretty much covered all the basics. So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about commissions. So before I do that, I'm going to pull up Beverly here. She saw Maureen. She got a Shiatsu 60 for $80. You know what? Not Maureen. I've already set it up for Christian, so I'm going to choose Christian. So I'm going to go with a new customer, Maria Katabat here. And I'm going to go with my service. Say she saw Christian, and she got a back facial, $65. Okay, great. Now I'm also going to say that Christian sold her the Just an All-in-One shampoo, and I'm going to say that she gave Christian a $10 tip. Okay, now I'll accept that. Cash, accept, accept, done. Now I'm going to go to my reports, and I'm going to go to sales, and I'm going to select operator reports, and I'm going to go down to my commission reports. And I've got lots of different commission reports to choose from. And these are all going to be based on what type of commission you've created. So I've got my commission sales analysis as an example of one of them. And I'm going to choose Christian. I could choose everybody. I could choose a handful of people. I'm just going to choose Christian and accept. And I'm going to say just for today, I could have put in a date range like a pay period and view report so that you guys can see it and it just doesn't print here. So here's my report. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Okay, so now I've got my Bella Renaissance commission sales analysis, all registers for the period from June 15th to June 15th for operator Christian. Services rendered. He saw Debbie Raffle, gave her an anti-curl and blow dry. One of them. Took an hour and a half. Price was $100. No discounts. $100 was the final amount. 45% was the commission. $45 is his commission pay. Maria Kabadat, back facial, did one of them for an hour, $65. 50% is his commission, $32.50 on that one. Total for all services, 2.5 hours, no discounts, total amount $165, what I owe him, $77.50. Products sold to Maria Katabat, Just an All-in-One shampoo for $21, no discounts. 15% commission, he gets $315. Total for products and services, $186, and I owe him $86.65. Tips received from Maria Katabat, $10. Total for commission on products, services, and tips, $90.65. That is just one of many reports. So how was that set up? Well, I went to payroll, and I go to employees, and I go to add new, and I add my employees. I've added 9 of them so far. How do I know that? Because my next employee number is going to be employee number 10. After I have added my employees, I can go to employees and go to my commission schedule. And I can set up things like sliding commissions, add, modify tables. So now I can choose an employee like Christopher here, who is operator Christian, and say for service sales, I can have up to 6 different scales. From $0 to $1,499, I'm giving him 50%. From $1,499 and a penny to $2,000, I'm giving him 55%. From $2,000 and a penny to $2,500, 60%, up to 6 different scales. And on retail, I can give up to 6 different scales. From $0 to $500, 5%. From $500 and a penny to $757.50. I mean, not $7, 7.5%. Now, you might be looking at these numbers and say, but wait a minute, Matt, you just showed us Christian's report, and these numbers don't add up. That doesn't make sense. Well, that's because this is sliding scale. I didn't run a sliding scale report for him. Remember, I told you that based on the report that you're running is based on what you've set up for him. So I've set up 3 different types of commissions for him. Excuse me. This is just one of them. Another one is commission rates, service rates. So you can choose everybody, or you could choose a specific operator, and you could say for all services and give him a rate like 50%. And then I could go in and say, but on this service he gets 45%, or on this service he gets 30%. So whatever I want to select, it can be a different rate for each service. That I've done. Then I could also go to dollar amounts. And instead of setting up a commission based on percentages, I could say for Christian, when he does an anti-curl, which is $140, he gets 70%. Now you might say, well, that's the same as 50%. Well, sure it is. But what if the spa raises its price? He still gets $70. But if it was on a percentage and they raised the price, he would get an automatic raise. So it's something to consider. For the back facial, $65, he gets $32.50. For the blow dry, $42, he gets $21, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is dollar amount. And I can do it based on retail rates as well. So I could choose Christian, and choose a category and say what his percentage rate is for those products in that category. Once I have set up my commissions, then I can go into reports and run whatever necessary report I want to run. That's setting up commissions. Any questions?
So even though I have multiple commission types set up for the same person, the information I'm getting is always going to be based on the report that I run. So
that's
at
right.
that point, I run the same report.
That's exactly right. So for instance, I might set Christian up on just percentages, let's say. So then if I go to operator reports and I go to my commission reports, if I went to sliding scale, it would give me no information for Christian because I didn't set him up on a sliding scale commission, so it would be zeroed. But if I did the commission sales analysis, it would be based on percentages. The combined commission report, net commission report, on service sales, this would all be based on percentages. If I did sliding scale, then I've got my sliding scale with and without back bar. And I've got my daily sliding and my high scale, which would use the highest scale if they hit that number for the whole amount, with and without back bar. So I can do different reports based on different types, but I can set up all 3 types for him so that I could see what his commission would have been on standard percentage or on dollar amount or on sliding scale. And they might be totally different numbers. Go ahead.
And then on the sliding scale, is that a daily basis? Is that a service basis? Or is it when I run the report?
Yeah, when you run the report, unless you're doing the daily one, which gives you that day, unless you're doing the daily one, when you run the report, it asks you for the date range. So it's for the sliding scale then is going to be based on the date range that you put in. So normally that would be for a pay period.
Yeah, okay. So then presumably, like when I'm putting in the scales, I'm putting them in based on my prescience that I'm going to be running this on a, let's say, a 2-week basis.
Exactly.
And so the numbers I put in terms of the sales and the percentages, that's with the understanding of, this is $50,000 in sales over 2 weeks, or, $3,000 in sales over 2 weeks, or whatever it is.
Exactly. That's precisely right.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked those questions, because that's important to know. And I didn't think to mention it. Any other questions? Because other than that, we're actually done with this class.
Were you going to show us how to close out the register, or is that going to be tomorrow?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so sorry. Thank you. Absolutely. I went right to reports after. Yes. So let's close our drawer. We've already run a number of services, a number of transactions, I mean. So let's close our drawer. In order to close the drawer, we go into the point of sale register, and then we go up to register in the upper left-hand corner and choose close. Now, when we choose that button, it's going to bring up our closing wizard, and it's going to tell us, before you close, you need to make sure that you have done your paid-ins and paid-outs if they apply. So what is a paid-in and a paid-out? Very briefly, let's say that the boss is Andre, and I am the lowly front desk guy. And Andre walks up to me and says to me, hey, pop open the drawer and give me $20 out of it. I'm going to buy coffee for a meeting that I'm having in a few minutes. Well, he's the boss. So I do a no sale, I pop the drawer, I take $20 out and I hand it to him, and off he goes and does his thing. Now, the comptroller is going to see that my drawer at the end of the day is $20 light. And that's going to create a problem. So when Andre does that, I go to register, and I go to paid outs, and I say, gave boss 20, or gave boss 4 coffee, and then I put in my amount, $20. And then I can post it, or post and open the drawer. I can even print a receipt for it. This creates a transaction. The software knows now that the drawer has lost $20 for a reason. Now the drawer is no longer shy $20. It's not light anymore. I still have a good count, and I'm not short. Okay, that's a paid out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now a few days go by, and the boss says, here's the 20 bucks I took out of the drawer to make everything right. And he hands it to me, and I stick it back in the drawer. Well, guess what? My drawer is going to be over at the end of the day by $20. Unless, me being the smart guy I am, I go to register and I go to paid ins. And I say, boss paid back coffee money. And I put in $20. And I post or et cetera. So now my drawer is right. There is a transaction showing that it took in an additional $20. So again, even though there's more money in there than I said there should be, it's still, the comptroller wants to make sure, of course, the bean counters are always making sure that everything lines up properly. So I go to register, I go to close, and it tells me the first step in closing is to make sure that your paid-ins and paid-outs have been done if they apply. Obviously, if Andre had never done any of that, I didn't have to do any of that. So next thing, now that I've made sure that that's all taken care of, I go to continue. And now my cash register flowed. This is the amount of money I'm leaving in the drawer for tomorrow. Okay? So however much money I made that day, I'm taking all of it out, but $50. And I can put in a different amount, of course. This is my float, and accept. Well, now that I've created a float, I have $387.94 as my cash count, $98 in MasterCard. I've got a total deposits then of $485.94. I can put in a deposit number based on my bank slips. I can create a deposit slip as well if I want. And then once I'm done, I can accept. This is my final report on my drawer. I started my drawer with $50 because that was the float from last night. I brought in $485.94 in actual money. $387.94 of that was in actual cash. $98 of it was in credit cards. And I am going to therefore have a total deposit of $485.94, leaving the original $50 I started with. Hence, my overshort is 0. Yay, the bean counters are happy. And my sales receipts, this much in cash, this much in checks, this much in credit cards, this much in traveler's checks, gift certificates, etc. Now, I want you to notice something. Notice also we have this much in tips. I want you to notice something. Gift cards, gift certificates here. There's a number here. There's also, under sales breakdown, a number here. 2 different places for gift certificates. And they might have very different numbers. Very different. This number might be 0, and this number might be 150. This number might be 150, and this number might be 0. So what's going on? If this is 150, it means that somebody used gift certificates worth $150 to pay for things. If this says 150, it means somebody bought $150 worth of gift certificates. 2 different things. Make sense?
Yes.
So this is my sales breakdown of what I sold that day. I did $453 in services and $21 in retail and $1.94 in tax. That's everything I did today. This is my deposit, $387.94 in cash, $98 in credit cards, and I started with 50. And then my sales receipts, the actual money brought in. My totals, my tips, any service charges that were applied, any voids, that's it. I can now print this, and if I print it, by the way, it will print and accept, or I can just accept it. And when I accept it, my drawer is closed. The next day, it will reopen right up again with $50. If, however, I closed and then somebody walks through the door and they say, I'd like a massage, and I normally would say, I'm sorry, I'm closed for the day, but it just happens to be the Queen of England. So I say, no problem, ma'am, come right on in. So I need to open my drawer again. Drawer 1 has been closed. Would you like to reopen it? If I say yes, the drawer will be reopened and I can process. And then I can close again. Any questions?
Yes. What if I've got 2 shifts?
What if you what? I'm sorry?
I have 2 shifts. So I've got somebody that works in the morning and someone works in the afternoon. Do I close the drawer twice, or do they just both work from the same drawer?
Okay, you can. That's up to you. You can set up configuration, sales register. You can set up multiple cash drawers. Okay, so I could say 2 drawers or something like that, and I could close drawer 1 and open drawer 2.
Okay.
That would be the best way to do shifts. If you're going to close drawer 1 and then reopen drawer 1 as a shift, then are you really going to take the money out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a deposit and then do it, then run the drawer again? I mean, you're going to start running into some issues there. But by closing drawer 1 and then opening drawer 2, you can really go with that shift there. You can even do it by register. You could have close a register, open another register, etc. So yeah, you can do that. The ins and outs of that, I would tell you that you're going to want to talk to support for that and not me. But yes, you can absolutely do shifts where you can close a drawer and reopen a drawer, and they'll be able to go over with you the best ways to do that.
Okay.
I have a question too. I think you may have already said this, but obviously they have to close the drawer, but the next day, once they start posting, does it automatically open, or do they have to open it?
No, it automatically opens the next day. Once it crosses midnight, it automatically opens. However, if they did not close from the day before, and then it's crossed midnight, so they come in the morning and they go to process a sale, it will say you must close for, and then it will give you the previous date. And then they have to go through the closing process before they'll be able to process a transaction for that new date.
Got it. Got it. That's good. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I don't think
well, then I tell you what, guys, I'm going to generate this as a video. Did you guys get that video yesterday?
Yes, not yesterday, but the day before, yes, we did.
Okay, that's right, the day before. Do you want me to send this to Jeff again, or Andre, do you want me to send this directly to you?
Actually, it's better if you send it to Jeff because, yeah, he's the keeper of knowledge that way.
You got it. It will go to Jeff.
All right?
Okay,
Okay,
I'll create that now. He'll probably have it in a couple of hours.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you
My
so
pleasure.
much.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.